we're probably gonna throw a bunch of Rankle noodles at walls over the course of the next week or two, because Rankle's a card that I really like, and he just doesn't feel like he has a good home. Rankle also pairs with one of my favorite cards out of the most recent set in Goldspan Dragon, so that's nice. We've got the one thing that Rankle does, it lets us draw an extra card every single turn. So Irencrag Pyromancer is a card that's both aggressive when you want to be aggressive, as well as the ability to be interactive when being interactive is good. And we're pairing this not only with Rankle, but also Stormfist Crusader as a consistent way to draw two. And then past just these two, letting us draw two every single turn, we've got things like Cling to Dust, cycling on Shredded Sails. We've got Thrill of Possibility, which is an instant speed draw 2 to let us draw cards on the opponent's turn, as well as Valakut Awakening, which can let us draw cards on the opponent's turn as well. I think both Bloodchief's Thirst and Spikefield Hazard are kind of premium pieces of interaction right now, so I think that's part of the appeal of playing red-black. Having 1-mana answers to Edgewall Innkeeper seems pretty important in this format, and getting to play 6 decent 1-mana answers to that feels like it could potentially have a lot of upside here. We've also got some Castle Locthwain in the mana base, so that lets us trigger Irencrag Pyromancer as well. To the person that I just timed out suggesting that we add snow mana to this mana base, stop it and get some help. People are going to shove that card into way too many places that it doesn't belong. You can't play it feasibly with the pathway. You can't play temples and all these other things. You can't play castles reasonably, so like, no. My 2-color deck that's trying to be aggressive cannot play those cards when it's not already trying to do snow mana. It's very silly. Let me get a good gut feel. What's the Hyper Geo say is the appropriate number of snow mana? Let's say I want to attack with the 4/3 by turn 6. So by turn 6, I've seen, let's say, 7 plus 5 cards if I was on the play. So 12 cards, and I need 4 of them with that. Number of successes in population, let's say I have 14. With 14 snow mana, I'm 30% to be able to attack with that card on turn 6. With 18 snow lands, I'm at 51%. The amount of snow mana you need to attack with that card consistently early is a lot more than your gut is. Remember, you need 3 snow lands for it to happen. It's a lot. Hey, Walner, thanks for the brand new tier 1 sub. I really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. We can play Mardu Triomes. I guess I like the idea that it puts Castle into play untapped. My deck's not actually playing that many lands, though. Like, I think we're only on 22 lands. So I'm a little hesitant to, like, put lands in that cycle, but I'm probably going to want to be playing those lands out a lot of the time. So, shredding this food technically denies them the ability to draw a card, right? So, here's the way you need to think about temples versus cycle lands. So, if you want to be hitting your land drops, temples are much better. So, cycle lands tend to be better in higher mana count decks, where you're more likely to draw lands in the late game, whereas this deck has a low-ish land count overall, and with castles, we want to be able to play lots of lands consistently to activate those, plus we have effects like Thrill of Possibility, as well as Valakut's Awakening, in order to filter through our lands already. Thanks, Walner, it's good to have you here. So the fact that our deck is playing castles means that The fact that our deck is playing castles means that temples go up in value, even if temples don't bring the castles into play untapped. They unfortunately have a noodle in their hand, and then noodle means I can't attack with Goldspan Dragon. I think this is probably going to be the issue with a lot of these mid-range control decks, like this one that I've built here, is that we probably just can't compete against these Yorion piles. I would be surprised if this deck that I'm playing is competitive against anything playing the card Yorion. Welcome back, Alec. I was really surprised they didn't ban Yorion and Luris as opposed to nerfing all of the companions in general. I guess we'll play this out with Kicker. If they want to play this Yorion to blink Binding to kill this, they lose this other Yorion they have in play. I think Yorion was definitely a design mistake. They put the easiest to access. They put the easiest to complete companion requirement on the best companion. Yeah, that's exactly what they did, Factor Fiction. Instead of banning Yorion and Luris, they effectively banned all the other companions. And, like, obviously, Wellspring sees a small amount of play because it's completely free in some decks, but generally speaking, that's what's happened. So Chandra draws some cards here. This can kill Yorion. What's up, Jacob?
Just a way to my class. And I got enough minutes to see you.
You got enough minutes to see me? Are you on break or are you waiting till your next class?
I have a break.
You have a break?
Minutes to do anything. Now I can. I got just a way and angle all go see you.
That's okay. I like when you come down to see me for a minute when you're on break. Hey, Wiggles. Thanks for the 22 months. Welcome back. I appreciate it.
I never do things. Mommy never.
Your life sounds really tough. Is it hard being 6?
Yeah, because I need to do something. It's so hard to read you in the second grade, right?
It's so hard until you get to the second grade. The second grade is when it really ramps up, I think.
What the harder grades? Are they able harder grades?
How old are you, Jacob? 6. You're 6? Yep.
Yep. If that golem Madrati.
I do have a golem over here.
Madrati. That golem go drop that. Wake up. You better ability. Okay? Our ability. Click the golem.
You want to click the golem? Alright, go for it. Oh, you're missing. Hey, you got him.
Yep.
Nothing. Nope. Just the left one.
He's laughing.
You think he's laughing? I think he's annoyed you're poking him.
I played too much.
You did poke him too much. You blew him apart.
Like a McGree. I don't have no minute to do something. I don't have no minute.
Okay. You should probably get back up to your class if you only had a couple minutes. I love you, buddy. It's really tough being 6, chat. Well, poop. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna play this deck against anything that is Yorian in it. We'll try and see if we can queue into some Gruul and some adventures. Like I said, I think we've got good tools for that, but just like our 3/3 flyers and our 4/4 flyers against their 4/5 sky noodles just doesn't seem like it's gonna be practical. Hey, Mr. Ben and Watch. Thanks for the 11 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Duress. Our deck's probably fine against rogues. Cling actually sounds great here. It can cantrip and, what's the word searching for? It can cantrip and it, the words that are failing to come out of my mouth. It shrinks our graveyard when we escape, so that way their payoffs don't work. I think I'm bottoming the Valakut Awakening here. Thrill sounds fine. Thrill discarding. Skyclave Shade is cute. I'm gonna go ahead and do this now, so that way they can't drown in the lock my draw 2. Nah, I might get to that next week, technically, but I'm mostly focusing on trying to find a deck that I like that feels competitive. And while that archetype is obnoxious, I don't think it's going to be the most competitive thing in the world by any means. People are going to complain about it, and it's going to feel bad to lose to, but it's definitely not going to be a competitive deck. It'll be this season's Gyruda, basically. I am not playing Phoenix, no. You can always find the current deck list that we're playing on your overlay via the Cardboard Live widget. You can also type exclamation point deck in chat to get a link to my Cardboard Live page. Yeah, it's funny. It's an all-right do the thing deck. Patch notes for Runeterra are tomorrow, and I will cover them at the end of that stream tomorrow, yeah. I'll definitely do a patch review after the Chroma segment of the stream tomorrow. Feel like this is probably just gonna mill us out. We really needed to find a, one of our ways to kill this. I think with the land draw, I'd rather play the Skyclaves out rather than playing the Dragon first. Just want to try and put multiple threats into play so we can attempt to pressure them before they deck us with this silly crab. To the people in chat that are discussing the companions, I don't really give a shit. I'm gonna time you out if you keep talking about it. It's one of the discourse around companions was one of the many toxic elements of discourse in the Magic community that made me very, very frustrated and ultimately led to my break. So let's just, it's not gonna change. Let's not talk about it. It's not worth discussing. Move on with your lives. So our plays are pretty scripted at this point. Basically just have to slam threat after threat in, hoping that one of them eventually sticks, and maybe they can do stuff before this crab runs us out. It could be right to lead on Rankle before before the dragon. Although I kind of like saving Rankle until we draw a land, because if we draw an untapped land, we can go land, Skyclave, and Rankle at the same time, which would be nice. Hey, thanks for the 23 months, Metafuse. I appreciate that. Welcome back. So we hit another Shade. Start with the first one and see what they do. Is Rogue an aggro deck or a mill deck? It's both. Does both things simultaneously. I think I'm going to play Stormfist Crusader here with the hope that they attack with the Thieves Guild Enforcer and then we trade with it. Man, I completely forgotten one thing that takes some getting used to again, and this is a feature I really wish they would let me turn off on Magic Arena. The fact that my opponent sees the cards that I'm mousing over puts me at a strict competitive disadvantage as a streamer. It means I can't zoom in on my opponent's cards while I'm articulating my play and explaining why my choices are what they are without giving away information about what's in my hand. It's strictly optimal in Magic Arena to mouse over your opponent's cards in the game board as little as humanly possible. And it's really annoying that that's the case. Basically, I have to choose between giving up information and being a better content producer. Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, they did it because they wanted to mirror the feeling of what happens in paper when your opponent picks up cards and looks around. But, like, while it does that, like, in paper, you also, as a competitive player, do things to intentionally not give away what you're looking at. Like, when you're playing with Snapcaster Mage in paper, you fan your graveyard out so you're not picking up your graveyard every time you draw Snapcaster Mage, because it bleeds information. So while I think it accomplishes what it does, it translates a really bad experience from paper that competitive players intentionally go around. It does give you some funny moments like that where you get to, honestly, it creates moments that are kind of like bullying adjacent in a way, where people like laugh at their opponent like, haha, they didn't know what the card did, they're reading it now and they didn't read it beforehand. Those are the types of moments it really creates. I don't know if those are necessarily healthy and friendly to have. Shade is very good in this matchup. Provides you a pretty consistent source of card advantage you don't have to draw, which is nice. Alright, this is the part where they play Fabled Passage and deck us. Yeah, I think it's an attempt. I think it was a reasonable attempt to, like, make the game feel more like paper, but the way it works out in practice is just frustrating, especially as a content producer. As a content producer, especially, like, I want to be able to zoom in on things when I talk about them. Do we cling for card draw? Why would I want to draw a card? I guess we're dead to these milling us anyways. Yeah, I guess that's true. If I find a way to kill a Merfolk Wind Robber, Rankle is lethal, right? Oh, shoot. Yeah, I totally can, right? We could find... Wait, do I have another Spikefield Hazard? No, I don't. I don't have another instant speed removal spell to draw to. I bottomed a Spikefield Hazard. No, I bottomed a Valakut Awakening. So there's a Spikefield there. Is there another Spikefield in here? There is. Okay, so there's the other Spikefield. Hey, Post, thanks for the 10 months. Yeah, if you haven't caught up over the weekend, we've been live with Magic Stuff every day since Thursday. Isn't it faster to just try and draw rather than looking it up? No, because drawing is bad because they have to block with rune crap, right? So I'm not guaranteed dead. Because they're forced to block here, I'm not guaranteed dead to them having just a land. So, if their hand is all non-Fabled Passage lands, drawing a card means that, or not drawing a card means that I can win the game still. There's seven cards in my deck. Actually a really close game. And they have Fabled Passage, unfortunately. That was really close, considering like they played their crab on 1 and then we just never drew a way to remove it, right? The fact that it just like hung out the whole time was real bad for us. We're definitely cutting this, definitely bringing in the extra Clings and the Heartless Acts and the Spikefields. Can we just bring in the Murderous Riders here? Just want like maximum ways to kill their stuff. Duress could be good here. Is Duress better than Shredded Sails? Duress is probably better than Shredded Sails, right? We have not activated Pyromancer in the game and a half that we've played, no. This is probably good. Probably fine. Yeah, we cleared the sub goal pretty easily, going back to doing some Magic content. Why Sticks? I took the sub counter off the screen because I don't envision having a problem staying above 1500 doing some amount of Magic. People that resub for Magic content, I appreciate you and welcome back. Look in your emails or pop into the subs Discord server again by Thursday. I'm going to send out my first quarterly sub survey of 2021 on Wednesday night or Thursday morning. This is 6 or 8? 8. I think I stood up there, Robbie, when you, Mr. Pockets, when you came in. Thanks for the half a year. Call Times felt good in general. I've enjoyed my time playing so far. Okay, so let's discard and draw. Not a particularly interesting or engaging game of Magic there, but we'll take it. Get me happy with how I boarded. Run it back. Hopefully we'll have a game where we both have lands now. Has Runeterra ever done a rotation, or have they announced one? They've announced that their game will rotate at some point. They have not announced details on how or when that will happen or what it will look like. Jode? I imagine they're not going to do it for at least a year or more yet. So Runeterra currently has 8 regions or colors in their game, and they plan to add 2 more regions this year. So I imagine they won't be rotating until they have a full 10 colors. They're going to be adding the last 2 regions this year. Their next expansion in March will add the ninth region. Still playing Raid or jumped off that ship? Casually. So I don't incessantly log into Raid every day and do all the dailies anymore. I usually hit the clan boss. I got to like floor 100 of the Doom Tower on hard at one point, and I'm almost done with Faction Wars. I don't play it religiously like I once did. It's a reasonable game, even if it's very good at taking all of your money, all of the money that you will give it. I'm mulliganing that. I don't play Runeterra on mobile a ton. The hardest part about a lot of mobile games, or games like Runeterra, is that, like, I have 3 children. So, like, if I'm not streaming, having, like, undivided time to, like, only play a game while playing on mobile is really tough. Alright, so we know they have Into the Story, and that's a card we're going to want to keep in mind when we think about how we're using or not using these Cling to Dust. So part of the reason why I play Raid's a game that I play on mobile, okay, because it's like, you can pause it at any point, just like set it down and go do something else. If something comes up with the fam. I think I'm cycling a Cling to Dust at end of turn here, just for the sake of trying to draw towards 7 cards. That's another thing I don't really love from a design perspective. It's so weird to me that, like, some of the rogue cards care about me having 7 cards in my bin, and some of them care about me having 8 cards. It's weird. It's weird that there's that differential there. I guess they're from different sets, technically, right? Is probably the reason. The Thief that cares about 8 is a core set card, and this is a Eldraine card. I would assume that's their reasoning. This needs 5 other cards in my bin. Are there others that have different numbers? I'm actually not sure. All the rogues from Zendikar care about having 8 cards. So I'm going to put a stop on my end step here, so this can mill me 2. And then before they untap, I want to cling to dust, so that way they don't have, I don't have 7 cards in my bin anymore. Again, this is why Cling is valuable in this matchup. It lets you control the number of cards you have in your graveyard at any given point very elegantly. Getting a little punished for not fetching a 3rd black up earlier. Probably should have. Didn't really need 3rd red. It was a mistake on my part. Hey, Obi-Wan. It's good to be back. Thanks for the 14 months. I think it's just 7 mana into the story at this point. Harsh but fair. And I think these are the games where we're in a pretty good spot against the Rogues deck. The one where they're more of a control deck as opposed to a Turbo Mill deck. The first game that they won very narrowly where they had Crab on 1 and we were unable to draw any of our answers. I think those are probably the exception more so than the rule. There is a question of, can we grind through their Into the Stories here? It's definitely one of their better cards in these longer games. We'll open on Thirst on the Enforcer next turn. The new treasure tokens are gorgeous. Big agree. Yowza. Okay, 6. So they hit 2 of our landfall idiots here. So I get to play this and then attack, make another treasure, and then cast both of these because this makes my treasure tap for 2. Howdy, Abyssal. The only corner case downside to playing Snowlands is the 3 mana white card that makes your Snowlands come into play tap. In general, if you're looking to be as competitive as possible, you should be playing Snowlands in all of your decks over normal basics. That's pretty punishing. Wowza. Man, their last few cards were good here. Morning, Jake. What's this, the 19 cards? So whatever they block with, they know we can cling. $18 cards in my deck. Every rogue they draw mills a 6. I'm gonna draw a card first and see what we get. I don't think I'm supposed to cling here. I think I'm supposed to pass. Am I supposed to cling? It's a free blocker for them, right? The turn I tapped out and didn't hold up my cling for there. That lets these attack into here too. Probably dead. Yeah, they already had Death Touch, that's a good point. Yeah, the turn they had the Awakening was rough. This means if this is a blank, they're dead to a removal spell, right? They have a spell, though? That's lethal, right? Oh, and I drew a land? Razor thin games 1 and 3 here. Games 1 and 3 could have both broken different with slightly different variants. Yeah, that was great. Reason I not blocked Duress at the end there when they only had 1 mana up, I don't know. Is there any reason to block it? Like, I'm not sure on a card they could play that punishes us there, but like the game's getting decided on the following turn regardless anyways, right? The land didn't matter because of the treasure, that is true. So you're correct that like if we're being strictly optimal, we should think through cards. I'm not sure if there's cards in the format that make that not a free block. Are there any edge black cards that give like -1/-1? There's no disfigure in this format, right? Bloodchiefs, whatever, is the only 1 mana removal spell. Does anybody know? Propaganda Minister, thank you for the 16 months. I appreciate the prime. Welcome back. For keeping me around. Isn't there a 1 mana that gives exactly -1/-1? Is there? I don't know. I'm asking a question of the card pool. I don't think our deck can ever beat You're In. I'm gonna try one more time, and if game 1 feels unwinnable, I'm gonna concede the match. Then we'll concede the rest of the matches with this deck against You're In today. I think there's a good chance our archetype just isn't competitive against this one. I think we probably have play against adventurers and rogues like we just saw, but Mogius's favor gets +2/-1. Sure, yeah. So there were plenty of edge cases there that could blow us out, and there really isn't any reason to. Ooh, if they're straight blue-white control, that's more tenable than like the Doom Fortune decks. Let's just play a 3-1 for 2. We can discard the next one, the thrill. Smells like blue-white control with Class Pull Mimic. Shred it, baby. Shred it. Smells like Just Guy.
Ikoria, let me help you practice.
Open to draw an untapped land here. Nailed it. Dead weight is also so legal. Okay, sure. Yeah, there are a couple of cards that make that block not blocking correct there, then.
Many paths lie before me.
Yeah, that's the thing.
To open the mind, you must first open the heart.
Taking turns. Interesting. So if they're playing Scalds, they're probably not a... I would imagine they're not a counterspell deck if this is a card they're playing. So I can Irencrag and Thrill. That's probably worse than just kicking Bloodchiefs to kill this, right? Let's send these here so they're more likely to trade for them.
I I will meditate on defeat.
Hard to break. Thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel this morning. Okay. So they're going to play both these omens because these are on use them or lose them from the Scald here. And these are unfortunately going to crank the Charming Prince up to a 4/4. Not a whole lot we can do about that, though. Going for 3, not particularly exciting in this matchup. I imagine this card comes out here. This card's good when they have things on board that we can point the triggers at, but when it's just hitting them for damage to the face, it doesn't seem particularly good enough. Alright, we'll get to kill that and get a 3/3 next turn with the Pyromancer at least. Okay. I mean, them putting the 3/3, the 1/1 counter on here, as opposed to making this bigger, is also good for us. Four mana draw 4 is very reasonable, turns out. Part must be a command. I assume we're dead here at this point. Yeah, I think, like I said, I don't think I'm going to play against Dorian decks with this, and that's probably what's going to have to be the case with the number of the brews that we play. It feels like it's going to be tough to make decks in this format that can really be competitive against both, like, the Cleave decks, Rogues, and Dorian. It feels like you're going to get squeezed somewhere on a third of your matches or so. I think there's a good chance that, like, whatever off-meta things we're trying to play and work on, we're just conceding to one of the 3. Our Rogues matchup seems fine with this deck, though, so we're going to play those for sure. That was the entire dynamic last season. Yeah, that makes sense. Three fairly different, very powerful things going on, and it's difficult to be able to attack all of them. Can you pay for kicker from the graveyard? It depends on how you're casting it from the graveyard, Captain Command. Depends on how it's being played. With Snapcaster Mage, for example, yes, you can pay kicker cross. Reducing the power level generally improve the situation. Yeah, I think so. I definitely think the I want higher power leveled formats was a curl on the monkey paw when it was answered, and I think that in general things would probably be better off in Magic if the power level was toned down a little bit. Obviously, it's hard to know if that speculation plays out exactly in practice as it does in theory, but I do think in general a lot of the issues we've had in the last couple of years are because of that. It's also just tough to balance. Like, Magic's a hard game to balance in general, because you have to remember they're balancing for more than just standard, right? So, like, while there's a number of small things they could change to improve balance in standard, like, they're also trying to make limited and EDH cards and all these other formats worth of cards too. It's not just as simple as, well, if you make this change, standard would be better. It's like, well, that's probably true, but at the same time, there's more to it than that. So Thrill will let us trigger Pyromancer on their turn as well here. Yeah, why'd you time out TDM there, Seth? I agree with TDM's statement. I actually think Kaldime's a very good power level. Let's be nicer with the timeout since we're in sub-only mode. Let's be a little less aggressive, okay? Yeah, I agree with that, Moist Succulent Pyro. Like, I think, what's the word I'm searching for? I think that if you said, Jeff, give me a list of cards that you could make better to make them possibly competitive in standard without making them busted, I could probably give you 3 or 4 dozen cards that you could change numbers on very slightly in Magic standard format to make those things be competitive but not be overbearing. There are a number of things that could fall into that category very nicely. I think here at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start with Stormfist Crusader and see what they do. Yeah, correct. I would like to see them power up cards on the bottom end of the curve as opposed to towards the top end. I'm going to cling one of my own cards here to draw a card to trigger Pyromancer to hit them for 3. We did beat the other rogue player in a close set of 3. We had razor thin games 1 and 3. If Embercleave didn't give Trample, it wouldn't be playable. Just for reference. I think you could reduce Embercleave's cost and probably get rid of the +1/+1 and have it be pretty reasonable. I agree. The big red dragon is lovely. Could not agree more. Alright, in response to your fetch land, I would like to attempt to do this. Murder your crab. I think if you ask me for my generic thoughts on Kaldheim, my, like, basically only complaint would be that it's only one set. It's a little bit sad when we get a set that's sweet like Kaldheim, and then we don't do blocks anymore, so, like, we're not gonna see any more cards that, like, we're not gonna get more snow cards, right? Like, the snow archetypes just are what they are. Sure, there's 100 different ways you can make small changes like that, Manad. And in general, I don't want to talk about changes that could happen because Magic doesn't change cards. Changes aren't going to happen, so it's pointless to talk about them. I think talking generically about, you know, I hope they scale up the power level of things in the future, I think stuff like that is a reasonable thing to talk about. Wow, that's incredibly rude. Okay, so another Rankle is lethal. There's one Rankle in my bin. I'm through one Rankle. I think I'm awakening for 6 here. And hoping to draw untapped land Rankle. We missed. Oh, they're gonna kill us with their own card. It's gonna suck. What were our odds of hitting second Rankle there? There were 25 cards in our deck, and we were drawing 6 of them, and we had 3 live hits. So 25 cards, 3 successes, sample size 6. We wanted 1. We were 58% to hit a Rankle there. There are not. It's actually lower than I was expecting. We were better than a coin flip, though. We also could have killed them with Pyromancer. Pyromancer plus a cantrip would have killed them as well. So Pyromancer plus Cling was also lethal, or Pyromancer plus a cycle. Yeah, there's 2 Rankles down. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. There go 2 Goldspan Dragons. And hey, look! We drew a land. That's exciting. Fourth Rankle is still lethal. There's 1 Rankle left in my deck. 6. So we were 1 in 7 to draw the last Rankle there. And we're just dead to these Rude Crabs at this point. So. Another close game lost. That's fine. Get to go ahead and board in some better tools here. So most of the games we've played against Rogue so far have been real close, but like one turn deciders, or we have a coin flip to win and we missed the coin flip. We're a little bit better than a coin flip. Because we're probably like 60 to 70% to win there with the combinations of things. The sleeve animation bug is still a thing. That's why our cards are burning when we mouse over them there. Being good at poker and understanding the basics of poker will make you a much better TCG player in general. The statistics and probability you have to comprehend to be a reasonable poker player translate very directly to playing Magic. I played cash poker as a second job during undergrad. Played a lot of that to make extra money. Definitely a big part of what wired my brain to think about card games in a particular way. That's good enough. That's probably fine, right? Skyclave Shade's pretty good. Not amazing, but fine. Killing their threats is good. And you were successful overall at making money that way as a college student. Yeah, a few hundred to $1,000 per month. I played mostly. I played low stakes stuff, so the risk was pretty minimal. You can lose money still if you're bad at it. My recommendation would be not being bad at it if you're gonna do it. Instead of being bad at it, just be good. So we're gonna kill this crab, so the of one mines are gonna be kind of slow and clunky, so I think the plan is just take Bloodchief Thirst here. Get rid of their interaction for us. How about being lucky? You can't realistically just be lucky and make money at poker consistently. You can spike a tournament and win like an occasional random tournament being lucky at poker, but like playing poker for months or years, you have to be good. You can't be lucky to do that. Is LSV a poker player? I don't think he was, right? There's a lot of Magic players that overlap poker, like have played poker as a money income source for some amount of time, but I don't think LSV is one of them. Yeah, ePro is definitely one. There's a bunch of people that have, like Ben Stark's another person that's played a bunch of poker. Yes, playing poker well is very boring. That is the God's honest truth. The Thief's another poker player. Yeah, that makes sense. He is a master. Hey, tools or tips for learning how to think about tempo in card games? Not really. Understanding tempo is one of the more difficult things in card games in general. It's not something that you could, like, get good and understand tempo with these 6 easy tips that the pros don't want you to know. There isn't really a substitute for experience. And how you think about tempo in games differs a lot game to game. Like, for example, in Runeterra, tempo in a game like Runeterra is way more important than tempo in a game like Magic. While tempo is often important in Magic, it's very rarely the most important thing in the game. And there are certain decks or archetypes that can force that to be more relevant more often. But tempo matters a lot more in Runeterra. They have an untapped land here. They can still play Soaring Thought Thief, but I like taking their 1-drop away because it's a free blocker guaranteed. This makes them have the land here. What's going on, Robo Reagan? Thanks for the 20 months. I really appreciate the prime. I wouldn't be here without folks like you. Thanks for keeping me around. Nasty Note, thanks for the follow. Of one mine instead of playing another blocker is a choice. Okay, so what if I cling? What if I cling to Starks? If we draw removal, if we draw Heartless Act, we can kill them. Thinning my graveyard is also relevant. So missing here does mean their Soaring Thought Thief gets to come back next turn, but... Oh, actually, they have to double block, right? So that's not true. Because if they only block one, the other one dies. Oh, they have a Thieves Guild for sure. Okay. Sure. Still feels like we're in an okay spot. They have a non-creature in their graveyard. So we've got that covered. Well, I'm glad we have second Rankle. Oh, they gained 3 though. Awkward. Huh? Yeah, Extinction Event is not usually a card they play. Heartless Act on top is perfect. So I get to Rankle here and hit them. And we both draw. We discarding too? Yeah, because this is free to discard, right? Might as well. Hey, Burning Piggy, thanks for the 26 months. I appreciate it. Welcome back. Get to murder their lifelinker here. Eight cards in my bin, so this is bigger. It's just a little annoying, but it is what it is. They have a lot of things that make them not be dead to this. We thankfully still have 35 cards in our deck, though, so feels like we're in an okay spot. That's another one that punishes us. Had we not discarded, we wouldn't have 8. Yeah, that's a good thought. So if I don't discard, this Lull Mage domination doesn't happen. It's a good thing to think about. Like 3 of your most lethal threats, please. As Irencrag felt reasonable. Yeah, it's good. That's great in this matchup. Anywhere we're dealing 3 damage kills things, Irencrag is very reasonable. Yeah, it has good. It's like a blood gas scrap heat amalgamation, basically, Brad. I don't know that this deck that we're playing is particularly good, but Shade is definitely good. They have another extinction event here. Feels like another extinction event, huh? No, maybe not. Eggdom's Awakening? They discarded a 2-drop. Yeah, it looks like they're Eggdomsing. That's unfortunate. I mean, so Chewy, what you're doing there is something that I find really annoying that Magic players do constantly, which is you're comparing the deck that I'm playing to a different deck that's the same colors. So I agree with you that the Kroxa graveyard-centric red-black deck is, like, very reasonable, but I also think bringing up the graveyard-centric deck while I'm sitting here playing this one is some hot nonsense because they're different decks. I get that they're the same colors, but you shouldn't just, like, arbitrarily lump things in together because they're the same color. Awkward. Okay, so I guess we spike this. And then we attack with these. To force the Lurrus trade. I'm at 28 cards in my deck still. I've got Murderous Rider left over here. I would be very surprised. Post a link to your deck list, Chewy. Because I don't believe you that your deck is 8 cards off of what we're currently playing. Do you got a link? Because I would bet we're Irencrags, Shredded Sails, and the 2/2 Menace is different at a minimum. So, a land is actually a really good draw here, because this land means that we can cling in response to a Drown in the Loch to stop Drown in the Loch from killing our dragon. And they have Heartless Act. That's unfortunate. So we're dead in the backswing. They have 9. Yeah. Rough. Rough. Yeah, I actually, like, card game players will complain about anything. I've heard a lot of grumblings about the rogue archetype before I came back to playing Magic, and, like, in my time back to playing Magic, the rogues deck actually generates... The rogues deck actually generates a lot of really good games. Like, most of the games I've played with and against the rogues archetype are, like, thin margins, close, lots of decisions on both sides. We did not. People don't enjoy being milled. I agree that humans are illogical and have a hard time processing their feelings. I don't know how I would build that. Look, Steve, that's why I haven't built it. To answer your question directly, I think I thrill this turn to give myself the best possible chance to cast these on curve. Rogues didn't really get new cards this season, no. I think I want a Pyromancer here. And use this to pick apart their board. Chaos Andy, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Sweet. I think I want to kill single Florahedrons. I could be wrong. Like, they're probably ramping towards Ugin, right? I didn't really play much last season's update. I stopped playing before they banned Omnath, if I recall correctly. I don't remember exactly when they banned Omnath, but I stopped playing around that time. Just making us discard here. Plenty of Rankles to go around. I think Goldspan's a fine card, fine threat, red-black. I think there's probably a build of this deck where, not even probably, there's almost assuredly a build of this deck where instead of doing cute draw two things, we just like play Kroxa and other good cards. Yeah, I already drew with the Stormfist. The reason I didn't do it with Rankle is we already hit our second card. Can we get a mod command explaining that the music being glitchy is a Twitch bug and people should refresh their streams when it happens? It's been a comment that's come up a bunch the last couple of days, and it's definitely not on my end. It's definitely on Twitch's side. If you're getting audio distortion, refresh your stream. Just playing all the good cards. I mean, kinda. You're still playing things like Rankle. Rankle's a good guy. I really, if I could find a deck that feels competitive that plays for Rankle for Saturday for the tournament I'm playing in, I would be happy. I don't know that Rankle is playable into Yorion decks is the problem. Yeah, Goldspan plus Rankle is a lot of reach. Maybe we're supposed to just play like Grixis, so you can play Disdainful Stroke, because Disdainful Stroke, I think, is easily the single best card you can be playing against Yorion decks. So maybe if I want to Rankle people and have a chance there, I want to do that. Yeah, we played the Blue-Red Flash deck. As always, absolutely everything that I stream ends up on my YouTube channel. So if you are wondering at the question, has Jeff played X, you can always answer it by checking out my YouTube channel. A sack removal you played in the Tyrgid deck seems cool against Yorion. Can you explain why you think a 1-for-1 piece of removal is good against the deck that draws lots of cards every single turn and who plays a bunch of threats that generate card advantage when they come into play? Because traditionally speaking, 1-for-1 removal spells are not good against things that generate tons of value. I agree that if we built this to not be a draw 2 deck and was just more red-black mid-range, Valky's really good. Valky's been super, super reasonable as a 2-drop that scales okay into the late game. I'm gonna go ahead and kill the ramp idiot here. He has to be great in the late game, right? He's okay. I've been kind of whelmed by the Tybalt side in general, but you don't play him for the Tybalt side. You play him for the 2-mana side. He's like, a lot of the time when you play him in the late game, he's like this awkward 7-mana Doomblade. And like, occasionally he does more than that, but it's pretty occasionally. Duck Butter Joe. Oh, Twitch usernames. Thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel. I think I actually want to wait on this because they can escape this, right? Escape, exile 4 of their cards, it would come back as a 4/5. This card actually seems kind of sweet in the format right now. The stat line on this lines up into Goldspan Dragon as well. And then next turn, Crusader's gonna make these Pyromancers pippity pop off, and we'll attack in and get a big hit. I mean, even if they had Ugin as their last card here, right? I could play Rankle and kill it, so like, we'd be at parity. Actually, we'd be a little bit ahead of Thane Ugin, right? We'd have Rankle in a card versus or nothing. Okay. So they're gonna fight Stormfist Crusader here then? The fact that this gets to eat these for free next turn feels real bad. Are they gonna figure it out? Are they gonna figure it out? They're figuring it out. They're reading, chat. They're learning. Really needed to draw one of our cards that cycled or drew a card in there. Oh, wow, and this shoots something when it comes into play, too. Yeah, Chain Web seems sweet. No, Pelucranos. Pelucranos can eat the Pyromancers, chat. You're correct, this only hits flying creatures, but Pelucranos fights whatever he wants. Pelucranos don't care. He's like a honey badger, chat. This Mosey's right on over. gonna hold on to Spikefield for now. They play the 2-mana ramp Florahedron, so if they play that out this turn, I wanna kill it with Hazard. Sam Voth, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel this afternoon. The opponent is playing a variation of mono green food, it looks like. They've got a black splash in their deck for some extra interaction, and the 3-drop food creature looks to be what they're doing. Maybe it didn't matter. It definitely didn't matter, but you're right, we should hold the land for thrill in a lot of situations. This is the way we shoot the mammoth, shoot the mammoth, shoot the mammoth. This is the way we shoot the mammoth with the Pyromancer. Do 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 do. Why is the big bad wolf so scary, chat? Why you have to be so mean, big bad wolf? Why you have to be so mean? Okay, so definitely playing a land. I think we're playing Stormfist Crusader. And then we're gonna upkeep Murderous Rider this. We're Murderous Ridering this on their upkeep, as opposed to right now, because doing it on their upkeep means they have to use their oven now, as opposed to on my turn and then getting to untap with it. So I don't think they have any instant speed stuff that punishes this sequencing, and it ties up an oven activation for a turn. They have another wolf, we could be in a little bit of trouble. They don't have a fighty card for Stormfist Crusader, though. You get to generate some cards and pippity pop off with the Pyromancer a little bit. Pressure their life total. Hey, Shadow Real, thank you for the 34 months. Welcome back. Okay, so Pyromancer plus Spikefield Hazard here form up a dynamic duo to kill Scavengling Ooze. Now we can just Bloodchief it. Maybe I'm supposed to save this to kill something larger. Do you kill a Pyromancer? You kill the Stormfist Crusader? Sure. I'm just hoping I don't have another enabler here. Castle is the secret enabler. The super secret sauce enabler that hides in our mana base. Would I rather do this, or would I rather pay 3 to draw a card? I think I'd rather do this. Let them know that peace was never an option here. Set the mood for these Pyromancers. And Castle means, even if they chip through our board with removal and stuff here, we're going to be able to grind a bit, which is nice. Get some value out of our mana base. The mid-range decks I'd suggest working towards. None as of yet, Crazy Duck. It feels like mid-range is in a bad spot still. A lot of the mid-range decks feel like they have an awful time with all of the Orion decks running around. Hey, Griffinson, thanks for the 34 months. Welcome back. So, I think we want to Spikefield Hazard this Dorko. So that way we exile it when we kill it. It's a blue-green snow deck, a mid-range deck. A lot of the mid-range decks are, like, actually kind of rampy. But they're going to sack it in response. Yeah, can't outvalue Yorion, can't block Cleave is that's a really good, concise summary of the problems with mid-range and magics in the standard format. Are Yorion decks considered control decks? Yeah, I think so. I don't know, it probably depends on who you ask. Gabriel Nassif is playing them a lot, so I would assume that means the answer is yes. Hey, Austin, thanks for the 28 months. I call them value piles, but they're similar. Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think tap out control is a good summary of what they are. It is crazy that you want a few Faceless Havens and Snowlands, because it means you don't understand the statistics needed to play with those cards. I mean, I want Snowlands and Faceless Havens in every deck, because creature lands are busted and great, but base statistical understanding fights with my desire to have that. This is actually lethal, right? Because we draw, which is 6, and then 11, and this is 12 exactly. Yeah, I guess it depends on what you call mid-range, right? Like, I feel like I have to adjust / work. Oh, they can gain one more. I'm wrong. We're gonna put them to 1. I guess you kind of have to adjust your expectations, right? Because, like, what's the word I'm searching for? The Naya Adventures deck probably qualifies as a mid-range deck, right? I don't know. I feel like in a post-Fire Design world, like, the traditional definitions of how I described decks in Magic the Gathering just don't apply anymore. Yeah, I think that's probably the answer. Wow, that's good. Is that enough to save them? Maybe? Yeah, eating food keeps them alive. So if I draw a Rankle kills this. So someone said that I can never kill this. Ooh, second Spikefield Hazard. Swish. Swish. A true skill game my opponent and I play here. A battle of wits, if you would. That's a lethal. And you're a Goldspan Dragon too. Their pile of food almost got them out of that. Just didn't quite have time to eat all of it. I do have to say, it's been so long since I've been inside of a restaurant. I do appreciate Arena emulating that feeling by letting me wait for a server on occasion. It really gives me that connection that I've missed during COVID times. Yeah, this was probably too cute. I liked the idea of Pyromancer. I do like the idea of these two as a top end in a black-red deck still, but this is probably, like, what is it? It's like 16 cards here. Like, these 16 cards are probably worse than making the shell look a little bit different. Like these spells here are reasonable. And like maybe with Crocs and some other stuff, I can't in my mind envision what a black-red deck looks like that's competitive against Urian. And I think that's what you just have to punt that. Like I don't know that you can get these decks aggressive enough to get under what the Yorion deck is doing consistently without changing what they are at a fundamental level. Like these cards just line up so poorly into their flying cards, and they're also not even just past like the 4/5 that Yorion is, but they also just aren't great against things like Binding and Elspeth's Conquer Death because you trade even on Temple. I guess you hit them once, but like those decks also just have a lot of incidental life gain too, that like them getting in one hit isn't that big of a deal. All right, we're gonna shift gears. What do we want to do next? We're gonna restart Arena, so we wait for the server a little